So welcome everybody. I'm so glad you all made it. Yay! To our very first Takeaway Homemade. Woohoo! All right. Ooh, I'm excited. Okay, so y'all don't know who Steve and I are, so I'm going to briefly give you just kind of a little snapshot and why in the world two crazy pastors are holding cooking courses in their church. I am Tasha Allison, and that is Steve Fountain back there. He is my better half. And we are the pastors of LargsNaz. That's this church where you're sitting, Largs Church of the Nazarene. We have lived in Largs, and we've pastored here for about 3.5 years. Prior to that, we served at Broomhill Nazarene in Glasgow. And yeah, it's a great, yeah, there you go. And we're, in addition to being pastors, we built a community garden and we taught cooking classes and other classes similar to what we're going to be doing here. And prior to that, we lived in the United States, in South Carolina, Georgia area, and we taught people how to grow healthy food, how to cook healthy food, and how to preserve healthy food at our Icebox Urban Farm campus in Augusta, Georgia. It was a fairly large campus. We had gardens, community gardens, an enormous greenhouse you can see there. We had classroom space, so we had indoor and outdoor learning. And we are really excited to be cooking with you guys today. So yeah, those are just some photos from our campus back in the States, Icebox, where we taught lots and lots of classes. So we're excited to be doing that here. Teaching people how to eat healthier and how to preserve food, how to budget, that's a passion for us because we are called to take care of our bodies, we're called to take care of each other, and we're called to take care of this planet. And so we can do that through food. And so today we're going to be making soup, leek and potato soup. We're going to go over some handy tools. You can just wait on that. We're going to go over some handy tools. We're going to go over stocking the cupboard. We're going to go over knife safety. We're going to cook together step by step. So you may be the fastest chopper in the world. I'm looking at you, Danny, because I know you have quite a bit of experience. But if you finish first, either help your neighbor or just wait patiently, because we're going to do this as a group, as a community together. We're going to talk about troubleshooting. We're going to look at some options. You know, if you make a giant pot of soup and you don't want to eat soup for like 47 days, what do you do with it, right? We're going to talk about garnishes. We're going to talk about tweaking this recipe, and we're going to talk about budget-friendly ideas. And then at the end, we're going to have kind of a question time, and we're going to be tasting the soup that we make today and a few others. So I just want to make it very clear, there are absolutely no dumb questions. So if you have a question, raise your hand. You can stop me mid-sentence. It's totally cool. We are here in this together. So no question needs to go unasked. Tools. So let's dive right in. Tools. And I need my glasses. Give me just 1 second because I can't see that screen back there. Some handy tools to have. They're not necessary. Hand me my bag. But they're super helpful. A scale is number one in my list of tools that are really, really, there you go, thank you, that are really, really helpful. Steve and I have lost, between the two of us, over the last couple of, we started about 1.5 years ago, we lost about 100 pounds between the two of us. And we did that, oh, thank you. You know, it was lockdown, everything was accessible, you know, once places started to deliver. And it's like, I mean, you know, I could get fish and chips delivered, I could get pizza delivered, and we weren't going anywhere, and we weren't doing anything. And so I just became very unhealthy. You know, it was not a weight issue for me and Steve, it was a health issue. And so the way that we did that, one of our tools was a scale. That was one of our tools in becoming healthier. And so a scale is very important. You can pick them up for pretty cheap, 8-10 pounds. They're not expensive. So I would highly suggest that if you can budget for that, a scale is a great thing to have. Now, in front of you are measuring cups and measuring spoons. You do want to have a set of those. It's not absolutely necessary because a lot of recipes you can use a teacup or you can use a teaspoon or things like that. But it's good to have measuring tools. And so your cups and your scale, those are going to be your tools for measuring things. Another thing that's really kind of fun and fun to have in the kitchen and helpful are choppers. This is one, I'm sure you've seen them before. This comes out, you put your onions or whatever, and you chomp. So this is our chomper. That's what we dubbed that one. And then this one has a blade in the bottom, and you just do that, put it on your cutting board, and we call this our cha-cha-cha. And so those are technical terms. I don't expect you to remember them at all, but so those are great things. A food processor is also super handy. And if you didn't want to go electric, they've got those pull string ones that are really awesome too. Soup makers, I don't own one, but I hear great things about them. And slow cookers, I'm a huge fan. We're going to start doing some slow cooker courses because I think it's going to be really important, especially as the electricity and gas continues to rise and that becomes an issue. Slow cookers are so much cheaper to cook with than your hob, and we'll see that in just a second. Another handy tool that I use all the time is an immersion blender. Now this is one that's a commercial one. We use this at the church when we make soup that needs to be pureed. It's a wonderful tool because you can just stick it in the pot and it just purees up really fast. You can get these that are residential, that are just home kind, and they work great too. So, and they're pretty cheap to buy. That's a nice thing to have. If you don't have that, you can use a blender. Just be careful because your soup's going to be hot. Or you could use a potato masher. They're wonderful, and that can do like a nice puree in your soup. Okay. Any questions about tools? Okay. All right. So this is just a quick little clip from the Batch Lady. Is anybody familiar with the Batch Lady? I love her. I love her. She's brilliant. So if you don't follow her, look for her on social media or on YouTube. Brilliant recipes. She does a lot of like freezer meals that you would just then take out in the morning, or take out at night, let it thaw, pop it in your slow cooker. So just go ahead and play that for me, would you, Steve?
Hey guys, it's the Batch Lady here. I'm way down here. Hello. I brought this up because I wanted to show you. I've been researching a lot through Citizens Advice Bureau and lots of other places about what is the best and cheapest appliance to use. As you can see, electric cooker is up there at 87 pence. Then your other cookers are still 72, 33 for your gas cooker. So they are quite expensive if you're turning them on every day because you need to preheat them. Look at the difference. Slow cooker, 16 pence a day. Air fryer, 14 pence, microwave 8 pence. This is based on the average time that you would have them on to cook your meals. You definitely want to have a think about slow cookers, air fryers and microwaves as things start to get more expensive and energy bills start to go up. These three, I would say, are going to be key in the next year to keeping your energy bills down, and you can actually buy them all at relatively decent prices. So we're going to be talking about more on that on the Batch Lady.
There you go. So that's some really good information. Because, at first I thought, well, slow cookers are going to be expensive because they're on for hours. But they're not. And they're a great way, especially if you're busy or you're working or you've got a lot of things going on, to be able to throw some stuff in that slow cooker in the morning. And when you get home from work, you've got a nice hot meal. I mean, it's such an awesome, awesome tool. So we'll be doing some courses on that as well because I think it's really a valuable tool. Okay. Stocking the cupboard. In soup making, or any cooking at all. Soup is the kind of thing you can throw together in a heartbeat. You know, you can throw some things in a pot, have a great meal. It's economical, it's delicious, especially on days like this. And so having a stocked cupboard and a stocked freezer is helpful when you want to go and make some soup. So some things that I suggest: salt, pepper, spices, whatever spices you like. You may be a huge fan of curry, so stock curry in your spice list. Fresh and frozen veg, legumes, lentils are fabulous. They have a long shelf life, and they're quick to cook. Stock cubes are always really helpful. If salt is an issue, they have low salt stock cubes as well. Aromatics, that's your onion, your garlic, your celery, and your carrot, kind of your mirepoix. Bay leaf, I would think, would be another aromatic. So those are the things that really give your soup body and that kind of base flavor, right? Garden or windowsill herbs in the summertime, parsley and basil and rosemary, they're so easy to grow in your windowsill. There's that kind of pick your own thing that's in kind of that, what's that square? Yes, thank you. And then tinned tomatoes are such a wonderful thing to have in the cupboard. You can throw together a tomato soup, just start some aromatics, your onion, your garlic, your celery, your carrot, get those going, add a couple of tins of tomatoes, and then zoop it up, and you've got a fabulous tomato soup. So it's really simple. Yeah? Bean. Yes, legumes are beans. Yes, sorry, I should have clarified that. So any kind of beans, but especially the quick. I'm looking over here. This is a donation that was given to the church by Marina from Minimal Footprint when she sadly breaks my heart. When she closed her shop, she donated everything that was left to the church for our cooking courses and for the meals that we do for the community. So she's gold. She's absolutely gold. And so on the bottom here is a tub of lentils. Lentils cook so quickly, and they are a wonderful thing to have in your cupboard. Just with some aromatics, some onion, garlic, celery, some carrot. If you don't like celery, don't use celery. If you like garlic, put a lot of garlic, because that's really good for you. Throw in a couple of stock cubes, some water, and some lentils. Let it cook for 15-20 minutes, and you've got a great meal. So any questions on stocking the cupboard? Okay. Knife safety. Before we go over knife safety, I just want to do kind of the general safety. There is a first aid kit in the kitchen by the microwave. That is where we keep our general first aid kit. There are fire extinguishers here, and in the kitchen. I feel like a flight attendant. Your emergency exits are here and here. And also the toilet is right through that door, right behind Pastor Steve. So we want you guys to be safe. We're going to be working with fire, and we're going to be working with sharp things. Okay? And so we want to make sure that we're really safe. So, knife safety. The number one thing to me is to always have a sharp knife. There are more accidents in the kitchen with dull knives than there are with sharp knives. So always have a nice sharp knife. You can buy sharpeners for cheap and just use them before you cut things, and then after you've washed your knife before you put it away. All right? So on your worktop, everybody has a small paring knife. This is kind of a general utility knife. Yours has a sheath on it, so please be careful taking that off and putting it on. This is a very general, all-purpose knife. And then between the two of you is a chef's knife. This is a larger knife. Some of you may or may not feel comfortable using this. I want you to use it if you're comfortable. At least try it out so that you know what it feels like. You're going to make sure that your knife is always on the cutting board. Never put your knife in a sink full of water, because then you go to put your hand, I mean, it's just common sense, you know. Don't do that. But we don't think about it. Oftentimes we'll just throw, you know, the stuff in the sink and you don't think about that. So try to remember, hey Claire, not to put your knife in a sink full of water. Never try to catch a falling knife. If your knife falls off the table, get out of the way. First instinct is, oh, don't do it, because you could cut your finger or worse. So get out of the way, because you don't want it dropping on your foot either. Keep your mind on the task. When you're cutting, if the knife is in your hand, that's where your focus should be. It should not be on your phone that may be buzzing, somebody texting you. It should not be on your pot. It should be right there. And if it needs to be somewhere else, you put your knife down. Choose the right knife for the job. We're going to talk about that in just a second. Tuck your fingers and always cut away from your body. And so what I'd like for you guys to do is we're going to first take, so there are two of you and there's one big knife between you. So I'd like the person on the right, let's say the person on the right, to pick up the chef knife. Steve, could we go, huh?
You need an apron.
Oh, I do need an apron. Will you bring me one, please? So before we do that though, would you turn on my food cam? I have a food cam. How cool was that? Okay, so when you hold a knife, you're going to hold it securely. Always have your hand beneath the shank. This is the shank of your knife. You're always going to want your fingers to be back here. Do you see how my fingers are being held here? Thank you. Excellent. Thank you so much. Don't want to get anything on my cool LargsNaz t-shirt. Okay. Excellent. All right. So always keep your fingers behind the blade, just like that. I like to put my thumb here. Some people feel more comfortable kind of holding it like this, but always have your fingers behind the blade. Now, when you're cutting something with a chef knife, you're going to, and you need to give it a little extra oomph. You can put your hand on this side. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put our hand on this side, our left hand on this side if you're right-handed. Hold it in your right hand, left hand on this side, and just a slow rocking motion. Does that feel comfortable to you guys? Feel that? Do you guys not have a big knife? You do? Okay. Are you doing, like, yeah, everybody join me. If you feel comfortable, if you don't do it. It's okay. All right? So if you're cutting, you can see how you can pivot this way. If you have a lot of things that you're cutting, you can kind of pivot back and forth, but always keeping your fingers away from the blade. All right? Now, if you are cutting something, and you're going to be doing this in just a few moments, yes, let's do everybody on the left. Let's do it. Everybody on the left. Right hand, fingers behind the blade. Left hand on the edge. Yeah, there you go. And you're going to pivot, pivot, pivot. Rock. See that? Bring that end up just a little bit more. There you go. Perfect. Excellent. Okay, good. Now, another thing to remember is you always want to tuck your fingers. So if you're cutting something and you're holding it, you're going to be doing it in just a moment, right? You want to tuck your fingers so that your blade doesn't cut off the tip of your finger. We don't want that to happen, right? So you're going to tuck when you're holding something, always tuck your fingers. And you're going to cut like this. Okay, so that's that. So, does everybody feel okay with that? All right. Now, the smaller knives, don't think that it's no big deal to use this knife. Think, oh, it's just a little knife. It's not going to hurt me. These are sharp, and they will. So we're going to treat this with the same respect as we do the big knife, right? So same kind of concept. We would rarely do this, but we would do this. See what I'm saying? See what I mean? So always tuck your fingers. Always keep your fingers behind the blade and have a nice grip on that knife handle. See, you're doing great. That's perfect. Yeah, perfect. How do we feel? So those are just kind of basic knife skills. And as you cook and as you use knives, you'll feel much more comfortable. You'll get comfortable with them. It's important to have a good knife in your kitchen. And if you don't want to use something this big, there are smaller chef knives. There's 6-inch, there's 8-inch, there's 12-inch. So find one that really works for you. Okay. Let's cook. Everybody has a recipe. This recipe makes 4 servings, okay? So if you wanted to make more, you would obviously double this. Now, whenever you double or triple or quadruple soup recipes, double check your liquids. Because oftentimes you'll need to either add more or less liquid. Your ingredients they're fine to double, triple, quadruple, but your liquids, watch those, and you're gonna have to eyeball them. And you'll learn over a period of time, once you've gotten more experience, you'll learn, it says 2 liters because I'm doubling this, but I think that's too much. I think I'll start with maybe 1.5 liters, and then I'll see how it goes, okay? So, we are going to trim, peel, and roughly slice the carrots and the celery. And so what I'd like for us to do first is you're going to add your butter to your pot. Take your lid off and add the butter to your pot. There should be a little bowl right there with the butter in it. Yeah, we're just going to go ahead and just throw that in there. We're going to go ahead and add our... Now, if you don't like butter or if you're vegetarian, you could totally use a flavorless oil like sunflower oil or rapeseed oil or something like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's 2 people per pot. So you guys are teaming up. So 2, 2, 2. Yeah, so y'all are teaming up. Now, and because we're doing that, you're each going to have different roles. So what we're going to do is we're going to take out, let's start with our onion first. Okay, we're going to start with our onion first. Now, some people think that if you don't cut the root, if you leave that, then it's going to make your eyes water less. I have never found that to be true. I have yet to find a trick that works. I've held the matchstick in my mouth. I've done the whole where goggles work. Goggles work really, really well. But other than that. So this bowl it's got your veg in it, but it's also going to be your compost bowl. So any scraps that we don't eat, we're going to put in this bowl. So what we're going to do, Steve, will you go to the food can? Thank you, sir. So what we're going to do is, holding it firmly and tucking our fingers, we're going to cut the end off. Okay, everybody. Then we're going to flip it around, and we're going to cut the other end off. Okay? And then you're going to peel that brown stuff off. Okay? You guys are doing a great job. You are. I know, I love onions. I love them. Brilliant. Good. And so just put your onion skins in that blue bowl. Yes.
And then you boil them up and then add a salt into it and then use it as an onion salt container.
Yes, and I was going to mention that. And I'm so glad you brought that up. Okay. So one of the things that I do whenever I'm cooking is like any ends that I cut off. I don't keep, if there's any of this on the carrot, I don't keep that. But if there's like even like if you peel your carrot, any of that, keep that, stick it in a bag, put it in your freezer, and when you've got a bag full of vegetable scraps, throw it in a pot with some water, bring it up to a boil, strain out the solids, and you've got a fabulous vegetable broth that you can use as a base for any soup. So just thank you for bringing that up. No, that was brilliant. So now what we want to do, the key with cutting is we always want to make sure that we have a stable, whatever it is we're cooking. So because we've cut off the top and the bottom, we have, kind of a nice stable onion. So what we're going to do is take our knife and we're going to put it on the onion, put our hand over it, fingers on either side, and we're going to cut straight down. And you're going to give half of that to your neighbor. Yeah, there you go. Now, perfect. Y'all are good. All right, so now, again, we have a flat side to the onion. It's not rolling around, it's flat. We're going to put the cut side toward our knife. We're going to put our fingers on top of the onion, tucked. Tuck your fingers. There you go, perfect. Tuck, 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 everybody tucked. All right, then we're going to cut a slice, a slice, a slice, and a slice. Not all the way through. Yeah, don't cut all the way through. Cut, with just, about a half a centimeter or so. That's okay. If you've cut all the way through, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, there you go. Good. Yeah. Perfect. Okay. Are you going to take the other half? Yeah? 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 That one's for you? You can use your cutting board. It should be right in front of you. Perfect. Yeah. Good. All right. Has everybody cut their lines? All right. I'm going to do this one real quick. Okay. And so then, now that we've cut this way, we're going to cut the other way. With our fingers tucked. Tuck, tuck, tuck. Back to where you cut. Now, if you cut all the way through, just keep going and it's fine. But if you didn't, you're going to take that bit that you didn't slice and turn it flat and cut, cut, cut. Very nice. Good job, you guys. Yep. Y'all are doing great. That's good. Yeah, now, did you cut it the other way? It's just all stayed in one perfect piece. How cool. That's some gift you got, Colin. Good job. That's beautiful. Y'all are doing great. Now, you're going to take your cutting board, lift it up. There is a paper, there's a kitchen towel underneath it, and that's just to help your cutting board stay stable. So you're going to lift that up and you're going to put it in your pot. There you go. Onion in the pot. That is one down. Brilliant. Good job. All right. Smells so good. Tuck your fingers, Dot. Dot, tuck your fingers. Yeah, there you go. You just want to make sure you don't lop those beautiful fingers off. We don't want to do that. How's everybody doing? We good? Excellent. Dorothy, would you put those peels in the blue bowl for me? Yeah? Good job. All right. Now, we're going to take our carrot. Now, what I like to do, if I could get everybody's eyes up here, hold the carrot. Now, the carrots are tricky because they roll around, right? So what we want to do is we want to create a stable carrot. So we're going to put rounded fingers, tucked fingers, and with our big knife or with the little knife, we're going to cut off this end, turn it around, trim off that little bit. Now, if you're using a little knife, actually, let's all do this. Cut your carrot in half and give the half to your neighbor. There you go. Perfect. Good job. There you go. There you go. Now, What we want to do is we want to create a stable carrot because it's rolling around. So we want to, this is where you're going to put your hand on top. So you're going to set your knife on it, put your fingers on either side. Do you see what I'm doing here? And you're going to cut right down the middle. Good. Very good. Yeah. Very good. So now we have stable carrot, right? It's not going to roll around. We can do what we want to with it. Okay. All right. So we're going to take our knife and again, tucked fingers. We're going to start and we're going to cut them into long batons. That's what this is called. Batons. So you end up with something that looks like this. Okay? Yes. There you go. Yeah. You may want to trade off using the big knife for this because your little knife will come in handy once you've got them in this shape. Right? So again, tucked fingers, cutting them into batons. Y'all are doing great. Good. Now, once you have them like this, you can then take your small knife or stick with the big one if you like, if it feels comfortable to you. And you can, again, tuck in your fingers, cut them into cubes. And what you want to think about is you want to think about the fact that smaller things cook faster. So again, trying to be good stewards of our gas and electricity. If we cut them small, they'll cook faster. And sometimes I'm just starving and I don't want to wait. Good. And we're going to put that in your pot whenever you're done. No rush. We're not rushing. Linda, would you do me a favor and just check on the 3 soups that are warming back there? Just kind of make sure that the fire is still lit and give them a stir. There's spoons in the top drawer right here. Right here. Thank you. Okay. Good. Brilliant. Y'all are doing good. Everybody okay? Nobody's cut? No? Yes. Claire, would you do me a favor? There's a thing of kitchen paper in the kitchen. Would you bring that? We'll put a new one. You can hold on to that. I know they get you, don't they? Okay, moving on to the celery. She just Dot needs one underneath her cutting board, please. Now, I typically will just kind of shave off this little tiny bottom part right here. But again, it's good for stock. But if you don't mind eating it, that's cool. These are nice. They should be nice and clean. Okay, celery. What I like to do with my celery is I like to split it down the middle. So again, hand behind the knife. You're going to put your knife, turn it with it on its back. Or if you feel more comfortable, you can do it with it on the other side. And you're just going to run that knife right down the middle of the celery. And you're going to give half of it to your neighbor. Good. All right. So now we have a nice stable celery. So what, I know I love celery, it's one of my favorite things. So again, just like we did with the carrots, we're gonna tuck our fingers, we're gonna start at one end, and we're gonna just cut bite-sized pieces. Or if you're using your small knife, you're gonna pull like this. Always tucking your fingers. Yeah, tuck your fingers. Good job, everybody. It does. Yeah. Another reason to be present and to be focused when you're working with knives, all those good smells, you know? Yeah. Okay, good. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn our fire on. We're gonna wait. We're gonna wait. I don't think everybody's with us yet. What do you need?
One of the fuels has gone out.
That's okay. I expected that. There's some upstairs. Yeah. It's right. It's. You'll see it. It's right there. Thank you. I'll handle the slides. Just pop the. You'll need to pop it with a spoon to get the lid off once it's in the kitchen. Okay. All right, so we're gonna turn our fire on. So we remove our pot. I love these little camping stoves. They are fabulous. So what you do is you turn your dial all the way to the left. Turn it to the red, you'll hear it click, and you'll see it turn on. All the way to the left. Yeah. There we go. Yeah. Everybody got it going? Yeah. Nope. Hold on. Oh, see this. Give it a minute. Okay. There we go. Yeah, you're good. You guys good? Everybody good? Okay. Now, we don't want it on full whack. We want it kind of turned down. So we're going to move that to about the middle of maybe the top of the orange. So we want kind of a medium, a little lower than that. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yep, that's perfect. Okay, we're going to put our pot on it. And everybody has a spoon. So what we're doing is we are sweating the aromatics, right? So if you ever hear that on a cooking show, we are sweating out our aromatics, which means that we're just basically cooking those things that are going to give our soup good flavor. And when you sweat them out, kind of give them a head start, it will flavor your stock beautifully. Now what you don't want is you don't want them to burn. So we want to watch our heat and we want to stir. Right? So we've got that butter is melting and I'm going to go get a spoon because I don't have one. Thank you. It's good to be warm and sweet. That's getting there. Oh, it's going to be, yeah, it's Yes, I had 2 juices. I can't throw it. Thank you. No, but I squash. We can make a picture. We're gonna make a picture of squash, or y'all can make a picture of squash. Thank you. All right, we're cooking now. No, that looks good. That looks good. You're doing good. Brilliant. We might want to turn it down just a touch, but that's okay. We're looking good. Everybody's looking good. Y'all are doing great over here. Good. Looking good. Yes, keep it moving. Excellent. So let's turn our fire down just a touch. Right? So we're going to turn our fire down just a touch. So we're going to bring it to just about the top of the orange. Right? There you go. Excellent. Has it? Okay, that's all right. We can just start it back up again. That's all right. We'll bring it to about a little less than that. Right about there. See that? Okay. We good? There you go. Yeah. A little lower. A little lower. Perfect. Good. Good. We doing okay? All right. So Steve reminded me that I didn't go over my ingredients with you. So we have 400 grams of potatoes, 200 grams of leeks, 2 chicken stock cubes, an onion, a celery stalk, a carrot, and oil or butter. We're using butter today, but like I said before, if you don't like butter or you don't have butter or you don't want to use butter, you can use a flavorless oil. And I'll be honest with you, you really don't need to use a fat at all. We don't use, we often, that's exactly right, Say again? Yes, that would be great. Yes, coconut oil is another great alternative, so, okay. And so what we're doing is we're just sweating these guys out. We're just coaxing all of those delicious things out of them, and it's going to take the sugars that are in them and kind of caramelize them and make them sweeter. It's just good stuff. So, okay. Brilliant. Oh, our leeks! Claire, would you look in the refrigerator, the bottom shelf? There are leeks for everybody. I knew something was missing. I was like, what? The leeks have all been washed, so 1 bag for everybody, including me. Yes. Yeah. I'm so glad we went over the ingredients because now I know we were missing one. Thank you. Yes. Pardon? At the end. Yeah, we're waiting on the potatoes. Okay, so your leeks. So while we stir every so often, we just want to make sure that it doesn't catch on the bottom. We're going to put our leeks on the cutting board. You could probably split them up between the two of you, or if one wants to cut and one stir. But we just need to stir it every so often. We just don't want it to burn. So just like everything else that's long, we put the flat side down, chop our fingers, and we can just chop, 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 chop. And when we're done with that, the leeks can go into the pot as well. It doesn't have to be tiny. Leeks are also considered an aromatic. It's in the alum family, just like onions and garlic. Good, very good. Good job, you guys. So we'll toss those in there as well. Good job, you guys. Good, very good. Okay. Now, the next thing that we're going to do, because you probably see some color on your vegetables, so they're starting to brown a little bit. That caramelization is just the sugars that are cooking, and it's really great as long as it stays brown and doesn't turn black. We don't want black. So, in front of you, because we're going to go ahead and we're going to kind of slow down the cooking, be very careful. Take the plug out of your carafe, and we're going to add this. This is 1 liter of water. We're going to add that to our soup. Yes, gently, gently. There we go. Perfect. You may want to take the plug completely out and pour it. Brilliant. Good, good. Nope, not yet. Leave the heat where it is. Yeah? Good. Thank you. And if somebody would collect the plastic bags for me, actually I'll take these so we can just get them, because we don't want plastic in the water. Brilliant. Now, unwrap your stock cubes and toss those in. Now, I believe the recipe says to put the stock cubes into the boiling water, dissolve them, and then pour it in. They're going to dissolve in your soup. I just plop them in. You're welcome to crumble them if you want to, but I just plop them in because they're gonna melt and they're gonna get in there. Now, we're going to turn our attention to the potatoes. There's only one peeler between the two of you, so you may have one person peel and one person cut. What I'm going to do is you can peel them however you want to. Some people peel away, some people peel toward them. You're welcome to do it however you feel comfortable. Use the peeler, not the knife. Yes. Let Alana, so one person will peel with the peeler.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
I see it. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Okay. All right. So have one partner peel. Oh, are there more leeks to go in, Rona? Okay. Okay. And once the partner has peeled one potato, give it to the other partner. Again, we've got a rolly thing. We don't want a rolly thing. We want something stable. So So we're gonna put our knife on it, fingers, can I get everybody's eyes just for 1 second? Fingers on either side of the potato, cut down, and now we have 2 flat bits that can go down just like that, okay? Then you're gonna take your knife, you're gonna cut it lengthwise, tuck your fingers, cut, 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 cut. Just like that. Think bite-sized pieces. So 1 peel, 1 cut, and if you want to swap midway, you're welcome to do that as well. Watch your fingers. I know that here. Now, if you like potato peel, you could totally leave the peel on. A lot of the potatoes, especially early in the season, the peel is so thin that you don't even notice it. So, and I mean, it just makes you need to turn your hob down just a touch. This one right here. Turn it down. I'll come, yeah, there we go. We're doing fine. Carry on. Carry on. This is a much better peeler. Give me that. Thank you. Try that one. Yes, when you chop it, go ahead and put your potato in the pot. Let's turn yours down just a touch. Yours go out, yours is out. There. Yeah. Okay, let's turn you down. Oh, turned you out. Yeah. Good. All right. Nice. Yes, when you get your potato cut out, put it in the pot, and we're just going to keep stirring. Yeah, potatoes will stick to your knife, so be careful. Y'all are doing great. Yeah, get your potatoes in there. Brilliant. Good. You can peel the other way if it's more comfortable. You can do it that way. Just watch your fingertips. Yeah. Some people peel potatoes with a knife. I've got a friend who has this really long, you know her, who has this really long knife, and she peels potatoes so fast it'll make you dizzy. She's brilliant. You're doing great. Everybody's doing really good. Awesome. Yeah, let's bring it up to a simmer. And once you get your potatoes in, you're going to want a nice, gentle simmer. See, that's a great simmer there. And when you put your potatoes in, it's going to cool it down a little bit. So it'll take a few minutes. If you want to adjust the heat, feel free to. But once it comes up to a boil, you want to make sure that it's a nice, see that's a lovely simmer right there. So you want to maintain that simmer, whatever you're doing. You guys can bring your heat up just a little bit. When it comes up to a boil, knock that heat back down. And we're going to let it simmer. Yep, remember to tuck your fingers, John. Doing good. Don't like the peeler? It's okay. No worries. No worries. It's okay. You need to. It's going to be your kitchen. You do what's comfortable for you. Awesome. Good. Good. All right. So what we're going to do now that when we bring it up to a nice little simmer is we're going to put the lid back on. And we're going to let it cook for about 10 minutes. All right, take your spoon out. You're probably, when you get that potato in, got a little bit more potato to go. And watch your heat. You might need to adjust it if you don't want it to overboil. Oh, doing good. Yep, yours has just come up. That's awesome. So bring it to a simmer and put the lid on. I need to come through the other way. You're doing good. Is your fire out? Turn it all the way to the left and let it click. There you go. Yeah, good. Y'all are doing good. This is good. Maybe turn it down just a touch. Yeah, maybe if you can turn it down just a touch. I need to get over there. It goes off. Okay, then turn it back on. It's okay. Just a good simmer. Yeah, we doing okay? All right, put your lid on. That'll help it come up to a boil. And once it comes up to a boil, turn it down to a simmer. That's beautiful. Y'all are doing good. No worries. It's perfect. It's just starting to come up to a boil. Y'all are doing great. Really good. Really good. Now, you can, if you look at the different soups, like yours, for example, has a nice kind of dark color to it. It's a little browner. So that just means that your mirepoix, your aromatics, got a little more color when you were sauteing them. That's awesome. That's flavor. Flavor, yeah. Yeah, you guys, this is beautiful. Good job. Lots and lots of leeks in there. That's awesome. Yes, good job, everybody. At the end. Yes, thank you. At the end. So the thing with soup, especially when you're using stock cubes, the stock cubes have a lot of salt in them, unless you're using the low salt ones. So what we've done is we've got the salt sitting, and we're going to wait until we finished cooking the soup. You have a spoon at your workstation. We're going to taste it at the end and add the salt. So we just want to make sure that we taste it before we season it, right? So you can fully season it, do what you want, but at the end of the day, it's what you like. It's going to be your kitchen. And so if you want more salt, if you want cayenne pepper, if you want sriracha sauce, whatever you want, you're going to add to it. But you're going to do that but you're going to do that at the end. Right? No? So we're just going to let this go, and this is going to cook for about 10 minutes. Okay. Give it a stir every so often. Yeah. Give it a stir. Okay. Yeah, give it a stir. Good. Y'all are doing good. So, if I could have everybody's eyes. So, at this point, everything is except the final salt is in the pot. And what you're doing now is you're just cooking the vegetables. That's all you're doing at this point. And so it'll be done when your veg is soft, when it's to your liking. So typically it'll take about 10 to 15 minutes from here for those potatoes to soften. And so that's really all you're doing at this point. Keep it on a simmer, you're cooking your veg to make sure they're soft. And in 10 minutes or so, well, about 7 minutes now, we'll take one of the potatoes and kind of mash it against the side gently so we don't want our pot to scoot off the thing, and we'll test it. But for now, we're going to talk about troubleshooting. So, you've made your soup, and it's too salty, right? Let's say you were supposed to add a teaspoon of salt, you added a tablespoon, and it's just way too salty. Peel a potato, cut it in half, throw it in your pot, and boil it for 15 minutes. The potato will absorb the salt, okay? And that's another thing to keep in mind. If you're making a recipe, let's say you're making this recipe and you say, I really like it, but I think it needs twice the potatoes. Add twice the potatoes. But no, because potatoes absorb salt, it's probably going to need a little extra. So if it's too salty, peel a potato, cut it in half, plop it in your soup, raw, boil it for 15 minutes, take it out, and it'll absorb the salt. Another thing that you can do is you can add stock or milk to it. Be careful adding a stock cube though, because they're salt, right? So milk or stock or even just water is a good option. If it's not salty enough, obviously add some salt, some seasoning, some stock cubes. If it's too lumpy, puree it in a blender or mash it with a potato masher. That's when these immersion blenders come in really, really handy. All right. If it's too thin, just cook it for longer. Take the lid off and let it boil. And what that'll do is some of that liquid will evaporate out of there and it'll thicken your soup. Now, if you don't want your vegetables to get too soft, knowing that if you do that, your veg is going to get softer, 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 and you don't want to do that, you can add potato flakes to your soup, which is really awesome, or you can add bread, especially if you're pureeing it into like a creamy soup. A lot of soups will use stale bread as their thickener. I know you're looking at me like I'm crazy, but it's true. It's absolutely. So yeah, I would cut the crust off, use the white, cut it into cubes, toss it in your soup, especially if you're going to be pureeing it, because you won't even notice that it's got bread in it. It'll just be a nice thickener. Think about it. What is bread? Mainly flour. What do you make a roux with? Flour and butter. And that's what you use to make cream sauces or to thicken soups. Use a roux. Bread is essentially that. So it works just fine. If it burns on the bottom, so let's say that you're making a cream soup and you've pureed it, you put your cream in it, and it catches, and you get a phone call, and you forget about it, and you come back, and the bottom of your soup is burned. What I would suggest is you turn your heat off, let it cool a little bit, because you're handling hot things. Take your lid off, get a big bowl, and you're going to pour the soup into a bowl. The part that's burned is going to stick to the bottom of your pot. Don't scrape it. You can scrape it just a touch, get what soup you can salvage, and then take that pot with the burned bits on the bottom, wash it, clean it. If you need to cook your soup further, put it back in a clean pot and start over. Most of the time you can salvage a soup this way. Just don't stir that, burnt bit up into your soup. Okay? I've done it many times and it usually works. Yes. Yes. Curdle? It can. Follow your recipe. Most of the time, if you're going to add milk to it, if it's too salty and you want to add milk to it, you're going to want to take it off the heat, let it cool for a few minutes, and then add your milk to it. Cream will curdle less, so if you can use cream, it's going to curdle less. If it does kind of get weird, add a little butter to it, because fat will bring it back together again. Yeah. That was a good question, though. It was a really good question. We're going to be tasting some things in the next few minutes, but wow, mine is boiling like crazy. How's everybody's soup looking? All right, so it's probably about time. Mine's not going to be as far along as yours is, but it's probably going to be about time to test your potatoes. You can do that by taking your small knife and kind of stabbing one of them. You might want to stand up and do that. And just kind of test. Yep, you can also mash it against the pot. Just make sure you secure your pot if you're going to do that. Still quite solid. We're just going to let it keep going then. Another way you can do it is you can take your spoon and pull one out, and you can mash it with your finger. Just be careful. Let me see your leg. Yeah, we've still got a ways to go. There you go. All right, put that lid on. Let's keep cooking. Yeah, I think it's a good time for us to taste some things while we're waiting. I think, yeah, that'd be great. Just a little piece of bread. Does anybody have a fish allergy? Any fish allergies in the room? Yay, okay. So, okay. Now, what you guys have learned today is a method. You've learned a recipe. You've certainly learned a recipe. Can I get everybody's eyes? Y'all are being so social. I love it. Building community. So you've learned a method, right? This is a recipe, but it's also a fabulous base recipe to do other soups. Okay? So remember I said early on, if you make a great big pot, you don't want to eat soup for 47 days? So this is a great base recipe to start with. So what I did last night is I took this recipe and I had a pot here, a pot here, and a pot here. I put the base recipe in each pot, and to each pot I added a unique ingredient that then transforms it into another soup. So you're going to be tasting a broccoli soup. All I did was I took the base recipe and a small head of broccoli, and when I put my potatoes in, added some broccoli to it, or if you have some steamed broccoli left over from your dinner the night before, you can add that to it and then just puree it with your hand immersion blender, or throw it in your blender and puree it up, and you've got a broccoli soup that's fabulous. Then I took my second pot and I had some sweet corn in the freezer, and I added sweet corn to it and turned it into a potato sweet corn chowder. Added a little milk to it. Then my third pot, I bought the little packs that you get for fish pie that's got the smoked haddock and the salmon, and bought one of those, popped that in the soup, brought it up to a simmer, added a little milk to it, and I've got a beautiful fish stew. So with this recipe, you can transform it into anything that you want. Another thing that you can do at this stage is toss in a couple of handfuls of lentils when you put your potatoes in, and make a brilliant lentil soup. Because what you have here is you've got a beautiful starch in the potato, and you've got all the aromatics of the leeks and the onion and the carrots and the celery and the stock cubes. So it's such a beautiful base. So you can eat it the way it is. You could puree it and have a creamy leek and potato soup, or you could then transform it into anything that you'd like. So it kind of gives you that, that place to jump off from, and you can just turn it into whatever you like. You could add anything. You could add swede to it. I mean, the sky's the limit. If you like mushrooms, add some mushrooms in it and then puree it, and it'd be a beautiful mushroom soup. Add a little cream to it. So do you see how you can be creative just by taking this one recipe and turning it into dozens? Okay. So another cool thing about that is that when you make a great big pot, which we're going to go back to the... no, I'm good.
Tasha, can I ask a wee question?
Yes.
Does it make any difference if it's frozen veg that you're adding?
No, not at all. So if you don't have any fresh broccoli, and let's say you've just got like a small little bit of broccoli left in the freezer, toss it in there. I mean, just toss it frozen and then let it cook, and it'll cook, and then puree it. It's brilliant.
See when you say to add cream, but not the single cream or double cream?
Whatever you've got, it doesn't matter.
And you just stir that in?
Yep.
And see what the cream in it is?
No. It's, I mean, if you aren't going to eat it within 3 or 4 days, put it in the freezer. And that's another thing. So freeze it. If you're going to freeze soup, freeze it flat in a Ziploc bag. So let it cool. Put a portion in a Zip-Top bag, just a small one. Freeze it flat, right? So mash all the air out, seal it up. And then you can stack your soups in your freezer, right? Because you're not going to eat it out of the bag. You're just storing it in that. And so you can just have it it's almost like files you can look through, you know? Seriously, it's like a little file cabinet of soup in your freezer. Yeah. So these are samples so it's the soup you've made today, which we're making right now. Don't forget to stir your pot every so often. And then it's the 3 alternatives. There's the smoked haddock fish stew, broccoli, and the sweet corn chowder. Yeah. Okay. So another thing you can do is if you don't want to make a full recipe, half it, which is what we've done today. Transform leftover soup by adding new ingredients. Lentils, we talked about. They're so high in protein. They're so good for you. Beans are such a great alternative to meat. You could add pasta. You could add kale or cabbage to any soup to add extra vitamins. At the end of the week, I like to purge the fridge with what I've got in there, vegetables and stuff, and make a big pot of soup from that. Yeah, it's going to be really hot, so y'all are probably really hot, so be careful. So the bread that you're eating today is sourdough bread with some cheese that Steve made. We are doing a healthy gut, healthy life lunch and learn, and it's coming up. It's on your schedule. So lunch and learn is a little bit different from our cooking courses. So the 29th of October is our lunch and learn, and it's on fermentation and why that is so important for our bodies. Sourdough is a fermented product. It is a living product that Steve uses to make the bread rise. So we're going to talk about that in our lunch and learn. So if you guys want to come, it's free. We serve lunch, and then somebody speaks. We just have a speaker. So I just give it a stir every so often. Yeah, it is nice and soft. Okay, then you can turn it off. If you've tested your vegetables and they're nice and soft, you can turn your soup off. Yeah, mine are getting there. Yep, so give them a try. Yep. So one thing I like to do is I'll hold my lid over the pot when I take it off. You can take that back. Yeah, and just hold it right over the lid. Don't burn yourself. Thank you, guys. It is. What do you reckon?
I think we see it's on the off.
Good. Is it ready to turn off? I did. Thank you. Well, I did a double batch and I added a head of broccoli. So all I did was I put the broccoli in a pot, because I already made the soup. I put the broccoli in a pot with a little bit of water and a stock cube and steamed it, put the lid on just on low and steamed the broccoli till it was tender. Threw it in the soup, pureed it, added a little milk. That's all I did. Thank you.
The head chef of the BBC Scotland.
Wow.
And he used to make the soup.
You know, I've done a Stilton and broccoli, and it's so good together. Like you would never think. Yeah. It's a, yeah. Yeah. Yes. Oh yeah, those are awesome. Yeah, and they're only like 18 calories, 20 calories, something like that. How's everybody doing? Are we good? All right. Now, those little cups, have you guys, you're going to get some soup soon. The little paper cups can go in your compost bowl. They are compostable. So when you're done with them, they can just go right in your compost bowl. All right. Good job. Okay, I'm just going to take a look at your soup. Oh, it's lovely. Yum. Now, steaming up my glasses. Now, if you wanted to, you could put a little in your bowl and give it a taste. Now, you need to taste it and make sure that you want to add that salt. Now that you've turned your soup off, those of you who have, you guys haven't, you're not quite there yet. When you do, I want you to put your spoon in there, give it a taste, don't double dip. And see if it needs the salt. Brilliant. Yeah. Now that your soup is done and you've tasted it and added the salt or not, totally up to you, you have some options at this point for this recipe. You can leave it as it is. It's fabulous, just the way it is, nice and chunky. You can blend half of it and put it back in. What that'll do is kind of give it a creamy base, but still have some of those chunks. You can add milk or cream to it, and you can cool it and freeze some for later. And that is one of the things that I always advocate, because using a microwave is cheap. We saw that, Batch Lady told us. So we can make a great big pot of soup. We can make several different kinds. We can freeze them flat, and we can nuke them for a quick lunch. So we're not firing up our hob, quick and easy. So I would highly recommend you guys freeze some for later. Well, it depends on how your microwave settings work, but ideally you would put it in the fridge overnight or whatever, or you could put it in some cold water and let it thaw. Yeah, squeeze it into a bowl. Bob's your uncle. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Right, that's true, from your kettle. There are a lot of things that you can cook in your microwave. You can make rice in your microwave. You can steam vegetables in your microwave. In fact, I'm doing some research now on cup meals that you can put in the cup, microwave it. I think they're absolutely brilliant, especially for like teenagers and kids who just need a quick snack. It's can be really handy. So we may be doing a class on that as well. Okay, so those are the options. And then garnishes. Croutons are brilliant because you can use stale bread. And so it's one way of using up things like bread. You can make croutons. You just add a little oil to them, rub them a little bit with some garlic, pop them in the toaster or put them in your oven. Bacon is always a good topping. Sauteed onion, you can, like we sweated our vegetables down, you can do that with onions and leeks, and then you can put that on top. Cream or yogurt. Yogurt is a brilliant topping for soup, especially things like chili. Yogurt is wonderful. You don't have to use sour cream. You can use yogurt, similar in taste, and cheese. Yes, and you're getting the good probiotics if you're doing that as well, right? And then cheese, obviously cheese is a good thing. Okay. Really? Yeah. Sometimes cheese can get gloopy in your soup and it doesn't want to, and so what chefs use is a product called sodium citrate to make it smooth. But if it's a creamy soup, a lot of times it'll bind with the flour and it'll be okay. But just follow your recipe. But yeah, broccoli. Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Yes. See, and again, that's those base flavors that you're working with there. That's awesome because you don't really taste it once the alcohol cooks out. It's just a lovely kind of, yes, yes. Good job. Okay. So you can go ahead and take the lids off. If you're done cooking, go ahead and take your lids off and we'll let our soup kind of begin to cool because you're going to take home some of what you've made today. Is everybody kind of good? So just so that you guys know, I went ahead and opened up registration for all of the classes. At first, we only had registration for a couple of them open, but they're all open now. Next Saturday, we have a special kids takeaway homemade, so that's specifically for kids and their grown-ups. And it's spooky snacks. We're going to have some fun. We're not going to be working with fire or sharp things, so but we are going to be doing some really cool stuff. The next Saturday is Lunch and Learn, Healthy Gut, Healthy Life, and that is from noon to 1:30. So don't show up at 10. Come at noon. Expect lunch and to learn something cool. So we would love it if you guys would come, and we would really love it if you'd register. We have it there as well. That way I know how many people to cook for. But the Lunch and Learns are always really fun. You know, we eat well, we hang out, we chat. It's a really good thing. Then the 5th of November is the takeaway homemade pasta. We'll have, again, 12 hands-on spaces and then other spectator spaces. The next one is the 12th, and it's rice. Then on the 19th of November, we have a Lunch and Learn again, noon to 1:30, and it's sushi. I don't know who likes sushi. I love sushi, and it's really expensive, but it's so cheap to make your own. It doesn't necessarily mean raw fish. So we're going to be making some vegetable sushi. Yes? Yes. Yeah. Do it from the computer, but if you need us to help you with that, we can do that. Yep, absolutely. So the sushi one's going to be really, really fun. Then the next week is another kids takeaway homemade, and we're going to be making homemade pasta. So if you know folks who with some little ones, they'll love it. I'm not quite sure how we're going to handle all the flour and the carpet, but I don't really care. And then on the 3rd of December, we're having a beans and lentils takeaway homemade. So we'll be again cooking 12 hands-on spaces. The 10th, we're having a takeaway homemade holiday entertaining hacks. That one's going to be really, really fun. Lots of little foods. And then on the 17th, we're having a holiday party from noon to 1:30, and everybody is welcome to that. We'll have loads of food, and it's just going to be a lot of fun. We'll probably sing some carols and stuff like that as well. So now we have extra copies of the recipe on this chair over here, so if you want to share it with somebody, feel free to. And so now I think maybe some questions, if anybody has any questions. If you've enjoyed your time here today, tell a friend. Because I think it's awesome that we're building community in this way. Good. Good. Yes. I don't think you have. You registered for the Lunch and Learn. Yes. Yeah. You did it. Yes, you did it perfectly. Yeah, good job. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so if you're gonna, so what I did was I doubled your recipe. So everybody, just real quick on the broccoli soup, I took the recipe that you guys did today and I doubled it because there's a lot of you. So if you want to just do it, if you want to follow the step, let me just tell you how I did it. I doubled the recipe. I added a head of broccoli. So I'd already made the soup. Now, if you haven't made the soup, add the broccoli when you put the potatoes in. But I'd already made the soup. So I took the broccoli, cut it up into small pieces, and I put it in a pot with a little bit of water and a stock cube. Put the lid on and I steamed it. So you just bring it to a gentle simmer and let it simmer with the lid on for about 10 minutes. Yeah.
Can you make this in like a slow cooker or?
Totally could. Totally could. In a slow cooker, you would just throw all your ingredients in there, put the lid on, turn it on low, leave it alone. Yes, thank you. So I added a head of broccoli to double this recipe. So if you wanted to do this one, just use half. But if you like more broccoli, add more broccoli. If you've only got a handful, throw it in there. You know, this is your kitchen experiment. You can't break it. You can't go wrong. You know, and it's only food. So as long as you taste as you go when you're creating, you're being, you know, experimental, and you like the way it tastes, keep going. I added a little bit of milk at the end, and that's all I did to change the recipe. I added broccoli and a little bit of milk, and I pureed it. That's it. Yes. Oh, don't throw away your broccoli stem. When you make broccoli, and y'all probably know this already, but this was revolutionary for me. So you cut the florets off, and then you're left with this stalk, right? So you're going to trim off the end of the stalk, turn it, and peel the outside, and that stuff on the inside is fabulous. It's like, it reminds me of like the artichoke heart. So what I do is I peel the outside off and then slice it and pop that in there as well. Don't waste it. See? It was revolutionary to me. About 5 years ago, I was like, why are we throwing this away? Yes, exactly. Brilliant.
So you just put that in the pot then?
Yes.
You peel the outside?
Yes. Yeah, slice it, put it in the pot. It usually doesn't make it to the pot. That's usually my snack.
You just eat it raw?
I do. I love it raw. I
See
do.
what broccoli soup? Just basically a head of broccoli, but the same thing that we made today, and then
Yes.
blend it.
Yes, and a little bit of milk.
Right, at the end.
Yes. Thank you. But it was so easy to just transform it into something completely different, you know? Yeah. Any more questions? Yes.
That haddock, the soup, that haddock soup.
Thank you.
Yes, that one vinegar, because I was it.
And it's so good for you. It's such great protein. So, thank you. Thank you. Alright. Yes. So I bought a pack of the fish pie mix. You know, it's the smoked haddock and the salmon, and then I think it's just it's just regular haddock, I think, or cod or something. I dumped it in. Yeah, you could totally add that. Yeah, and that would be it'd be more like, in fact, so you could totally add that, add a can of tomatoes, and then it'd be like a cioppino. So like a fish stew with tomatoes and yeah. Yes. Yes, because it cooks really fast. So cook your soup, add your fish, just stir it, it'll cook through really fast, and then turn off the heat, add the milk, and you're done. Yeah. Yes. Yes, ma'am. I'm gonna come back there so I can hear you. Brilliant. Do you think you'll make some? Excellent. I want to hear about it. What did you think? Yeah. How about that bread? Was that bread awesome? Yeah. Yeah. Good. Excellent. Thank you. Okay. Any final questions before we finish up here today? Okay. Well, y'all just eat and enjoy and yes. If we were to add.
If you were to add cashew nuts, when would you recommend you're making like broccoli cashew nuts?
Oh, I would add it at the end and just stir it in. Yeah. 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 Yeah, I would add it at the end. Yeah. You're welcome very much. Yeah. So sometimes the brown part of the onion can make your stock a little bit bitter. So I don't put quite as much of this in there, but like these bits, definitely. Yeah.
What? Oh, I'll get it in a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, so you would just put these aromatics in a zip top bag, throw them in your freezer, and just keep adding to it. In fact, when you use parsley, if you use fresh parsley and you've used the leaves, and let's say you've got the stems at the end, throw those stems in your bag as well. That's brilliant in stock. Yeah. Yeah. So we've got some plastic containers for you guys to take home. So if you want to split that, you can take home what you made today. And yes. 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 You could. It's going to depend on what you're going to do. I'm going to turn this off. It's going to depend